welcome to the very first episode of Beyond the Device podcast by CAPU Search, where we explore the life-defining moments that help shape careers within the medical device industry. We are particularly interested in understanding how personal journeys, challenges, or pivotal events influence professional journeys. And as we progress through the conversation, we will eventually land on the question, what is the one defining moment or experience in your life that changed everything and set you on the path that you're on today? And we know that true meaningful conversations only happen when people are willing to open up and be vulnerable and share those moments that have shaped them. So to set the tone for this podcast series, it's only right that we put ourselves in the hot seat. And we hope by doing so, it will help others to come forward and share their own stories. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Duncan Cameron, who is the co-founder of CAPU Search and now the co-founder of Beyond the Device podcast. It's been extremely difficult few months for him personally, which I'm sure he'll go into, but we'll also dive into his earlier life experiences that has helped shape him into who he is today.
Thank you very much. Yeah, not another podcast. No, we've flirted with the idea of a podcast for a couple of years now, and never really found the angle of what would make it land with our guests, with our listeners, with the CAPA community. Like, what impact would it have? But I think recent experiences has realigned our focus on the kind of conversations that we've been having personally, the conversations that we've just been having between the two of us, and there's real power in that vulnerability, and we've got a lot more in common than we think. So I think that the point of this is to delve deeper into some of the minds of people in the medical device industry, big names, people that are coming through, contractors, the whole spectrum of our community. We'd like to have on as guests, and just go into their backstory and see what shaped them. So, as you said, put ourselves in the hot seat first, and let's see where the conversation goes.
Well, you've done a podcast before, so I'd expect you to be a pro at this one. This is my first time hosting, so yeah, bear with me. So what we'll do, firstly, if we could just start off by you just telling us where your story begins, tell us a bit about your earlier years and what shaped you growing up.
Okay, so I'll try and be quick on this bit. So I am one of 4 children. I enjoyed school. I think when I was younger, had a passion for sport. I wanted to be a pilot. That dream died quite quickly because I've got asthma, and you can't be a pilot if you've got asthma.
Didn't know that.
So yeah, through enjoying school and ending up at university, I studied architecture, so like background in design, maths, physics, that kind of thing, and that was just the path. None of my sisters or anyone else in my family had gone to university, so that felt like a good aim, and that wasn't even straightforward getting there. I didn't do my A levels. I got in through work experience, and ended up at Nottingham Trent University, and kind of winged it, but enjoyed it, did well. But yeah, early years, I feel like overall had a happy childhood. Parents separated when I was 12, and there was the challenge of adjusting to that. Then a stepdad, and that was a complicated relationship. So just having to navigate all of those things as a child. But overall, I look back on my childhood, and it was a happy time, and that kind of culminated in leaving home to go to university to study architecture.
And I suppose, what were your aspirations as a child or a teenager? Like, did you always envisage yourself ending up where you are now, working in recruitment in medical devices?
Probably not. Yeah, I think that also just came through being around certain people in my life at that time, and opportunities presenting themselves, and just saying yes to things. But no, as a child, there was a couple of role models, and I guess like parents separating at 12, and then the home life that I had after that. I spent a lot of time around friends' houses, a couple in particular, And I would sort of see their family unit and the success that perhaps the parents had had in their career and the lifestyle that afforded them. I think the exposure to that at an early age was quite aspirational, and I feel like that's then what I was targeting. I grew up in Bedford, and there's certain houses in Bedford that you thought, right, I'm going to live in one of those houses when I'm older,
Yeah.
which is crazy now because that would be I wouldn't want anything less than to have to move back to Bedford and live in one of those houses. But at the time, it showed me what was possible through hard work, what a tight family unit can look like. And I had that until I was 12, and unfortunately, parents separated and it went in a different direction. But I feel like at an early age, I had good role models and friends that I was close to, and that's always what I thought I wanted in my future.
Mm.
And just knew that that would just come through hard work, whatever that was. I don't think from a career path perspective, I knew at that early age, but I just followed my passions, was good at architecture, um, went to university, I got a first. But by the time I came out of university, I couldn't see myself doing it as a career.
And
And
why and
then,
why was that?
um, so I think just the the way I matured at university and the kind of friends that I made, you could tell that there was other other avenues from a career, and I like from a personality type. You then get quite drawn to things like sales, where you get out what you put in, and
Okay.
architecture isn't necessarily like that. Maybe if you had 10, 20 years experience and opened your own practice, but in sales it was very low barriers to entry, which
Mm.
is good and bad. But it was a meritocracy where if you got in at the bottom and it was just about attitude and hard work, you can quite quickly see how, and we both went through that, didn't we?
Yeah.
Compared to friendship groups, how quickly you can progress. Um, so maybe I got my head turned and sort of fell into it as a lot of people did. You got me the job. You were banging on about it for a month and said, "Yeah, I've just come for an interview." So just said yes, and the rest is history.
Mm. And you mentioned sort of looking at maybe sort of other families growing up and sort of how that maybe influenced you. Maybe you've broken home at 12, so other families type sort of a tight family unit. Were there like specific role models, particular people, things they were doing outside of the family unit that perhaps influenced your
Um,
decisions?
Yeah, well, the two, and I won't name them, but two friends' dads
Okay.
had like different careers. So one was in management consultancy, so was like a company man in the corporate world, but had worked his way up, and just again worked hard, good people person, um, provider, good dad. Um, so that was sort of one role model, and that was quite aspirational and showed that you could do it that way. um, and then another friend's dad had his own business, so he was more entrepreneurial, had built a company, had then, how I've seen that continue to grow, and now my friend runs that company. So the entrepreneurial mindset of actually the life you can create for yourself, if you have the right sort of attitude, the kind of business acumen, that side of things. So two male role models plus my own dad. I've overlooked that, I guess, from when I was 8. I think he started his own sales training business, so
Yeah.
he'd worked his way up in the motor trade industry, um, and then worked for himself. But that was more of a lifestyle thing. That was traveling the country a lot, was away from home a lot, but worked for himself. So it was a visible thing at a young age that you could do something for yourself.
Yeah, I think like your dad's an obvious influence on your life because he's there, but it's quite fascinating that your friends' dads can have such an impact on you, and it just kind of goes to show that where you spend a lot of your time without realizing it at that point, how much of an influence it can have, and you got your own company now.
Yeah, for
It's
sure. I
it's
think
yeah,
with having three sisters, and have all gone in their own directions in life. But there were times moving to London, or even where I am now. I'm recording this from Sao Paulo in Brazil, and we've built a business that allows us to work remotely and do this sort of stuff. Like, why was I so different to my sisters in terms of like that ambition to leave Bedford, to go to university, to move to London, to work in a job that was difficult but had so many benefits financially, the control, the freedom, being able to start a business, and then where I've landed here, I'm like, where did that come from? And I do genuinely think it was the exposure to those sort of role models at an early age and seeing the outcomes of their hard work. Because you're looking at adults that have been in their careers for 20, 30 years by that point. So you're seeing like, at that point their end goal and think, okay, so it's possible then. So it's just the exposure. You can't be what you can't see.
Yeah. And on that then, so that's more sort of a general influence that these people have had on you. But can you share a defining moment or experience in your life that has sort of changed everything for you, whether it's early years, later on? Is there anything that would stand out?
So people may know this. For those that don't, I recently lost my dad to suicide 4 months ago. 4 months tomorrow. And he first attempted to take his life in 2016. So I was 26 at the time. I'd been working in recruitment for, how long would it have been by that point? 2.5 years. So had relative success in that business where we were working. But I think at that age, and maybe this is just a maturity thing in your early 20s, I'd gone to university, kind of fallen into recruitment. I enjoyed it and it was going well. I wasn't really thinking much beyond that. And then something like that happens and it kind of shakes you to your core, that you hear about these things, but you never assume it's going to happen to you. You live in this bubble. And then when that pops and something happens to you, it's like a wake up call that like life can be really cruel. And how you then deal with that as a young adult. Things happen to you when you were younger. Like my parents separated, and then after that, it was a real difficult household. But there was a lack of control at that age because you're a kid. Things just happen, and you have to deal with it. And you have to deal with it when you're older.
I don't know.
But when things happen to you when you're an adult, there's almost an expectation that you know what to do. And you don't know how to react. And obviously, you've got the support network of friends and family and colleagues. But in that moment, it was, fuck, like, how has that happened? Like,
Yeah.
it was just never, it just wasn't a subject that was on my radar at all. And then it's your dad, and you think, wow, okay. So it was, it was a bit of a like a life wake up call. And then I guess for the preceding years, to sort of skip forward, it's then dealing with a parent that has had to go through that, and you feel like you try to manage it, and time is a healer. And eight years on, he was successful in taking his own life. And that's a really hard thing to say, but there's so many lessons and growth that I've had in those 8 years personally, that I am now the person I am because I've gone through that.
And on that, if we were to separate out, the personal impact that moment's had on you and professionally, what would you say there?
I think it gave me a purpose. I think a lot of people get into sales when they're young, and recruitment's got that reputation of people last a year and they're just in it for money, and just loads of things. And maybe at a young age, I never felt like I was like that, but it gave me a life purpose and an actual realization of, like, I have to make some decisions around where my life is going, based on lessons that I'm learning from my parents, and a broken home, 4 kids with separated parents. Like, do I want that for my future children? I'm thinking that at 26, as I've just started a relationship with my now wife 10 years on, but Becca and I had been together for maybe a year at that point. So I was in a early relationship, in a job that I was enjoying, and life was good. I wasn't really thinking much beyond that. And I think that moment, suddenly you're like, oh, I need to switch on now. Where is my life going? And am I just on this thing that's moving, or am I trying to drive it? Like, where am I taking this? And I think actually that has probably served me, because it then made me start to think about what I wanted to get out of recruitment, not just as a job but as a career. And within 18 months, I'd left that business. I joined a much smaller business to get some exposure to a startup, and then 3 years on, post-pandemic, we've started this business. But I think the catalyst of all of that thinking and being more mature about where my life was going was that moment.
And I think, I know I struggle with this, trying to put a label on an emotion. What were you actually feeling, not thinking, feeling at that point?
I think, well, again, just from 4 months ago, like the initial feeling is just shock and emptiness. 'Cause it feels like, well, it's your dad, isn't it? Like you put that person on a pedestal, as you should, and like they've almost got like an armor, like nothing can touch that person. So then when that breaks, yeah, there's like just a hollowness. It's just this sadness, really. But
Yeah.
it's then uh, I probably didn't feel it at that point. I suppose what was an interesting feeling at that point was, you observe life just going on. Like you feel like when something like that happens, everything should stop, the world should stand still. But for everyone else, like you get the support, but life goes on. And then you just have to start to ease yourself back into that life going on, because it does. Like I've still got a job, I've got a relationship, I've got friendship groups. All of those things are like the foundation of my life. So I can't let it all fall to shit. You can, and I'm sure some people do let that consume them, and then start to use it as an excuse. You then play a victim, and people react to these things very differently. I'm not saying that you can't act like that, but for me personally, in 2016 and again 4 months ago, and how I'm dealing with it now, it's I'm trying to sort of section that off and deal with that over here, whilst making sure everything else is still ticking over and good, because they're all the good things in my life that I can control, that have made me who I am. Control is a big thing.
Yeah. And so if you were to sort of break down even further the influence that that moment's had on all of your moves after that up to this point, so you've left the company you're working for, that we were both working for, joined a smaller company. What changed in your mindset when you approached that job versus what you've been doing, and then how did that then influence your decision to leave a stable, well-paying career to take a punt with me and do
Yeah.
what we done?
I think it is uh, the it's just like life's too short.
Yeah.
Um, you see so many people like in recruitment. We talk to people every single day that are in jobs that they don't enjoy, or the stress that they get through work, the politics in businesses, and that's right for some people. But I think like coming out of a big organization, going into a small one, working with great people, and seeing two founders that had grown a business on their own terms, again, that's a later role model in life, because you're seeing what's possible. And you know, in our first business, there was some great people within that business that like, I stay in touch with, but it was really joining the next company where these are role models in the industry that I work in now. They're doing something that I think is really cool, successful. I could see why they're doing it, and again, it just showed that that was possible, that was a path that we could take. Circumstances then with COVID and coming out of that and the timing of our conversations, then it just felt right. So it was going into that next job and putting myself in an environment with better people, I think.
Yeah.
Just more role models.
And you said life's too short, and that's probably influenced a lot of the decisions following that. Are there any other specific lessons from that moment, that event, that you carry with you today?
Yeah, that life too short is a big one. Um, but just like it put mental health on the map for me, like that whole conversation and like genuinely checking in with people that you care about. And like I feel like my world, I'm so sure. I was talking to Becca about this the other day. I'm so sure of who my friends are, which is such a nice place to be.
Mm,
And I can count them off on like two hands, my real core group of friends, and then my family. And it's like they're the people that I need to care about. You have mates and like a wider social group, and that's great. But like who I need to focus on, who's important to me, um, it really like really focused me in on that. Um, I think from a from a career perspective, that it links back to that life is too short. But I think you've just got to do stuff. Like you've just got to start. Like there's so many people with ideas out there. And for us starting this business 4 years ago, the worst thing that would have happened is it didn't work and you just go and get another job.
yeah, yeah,
but what we've proved is that it was the right decision. You're now sat in Dubai and have started a family. I'm in like 6 7 weeks into a trip around South America working remotely, and this is all off our own back. We've created this, and that just came from backing ourselves. And just why not? Why
yeah,
not?
yeah. No, I think like we've spoken about it a lot, where particular things will happen in your life, and at the time they're horrible. In isolation, you'd never want them to happen, but actually, when you look at the moment, you reflect on it, you look at what's happened within you in that time. It's a really difficult question to. Well, it's quite difficult to say, would I change it?
Yeah, yeah. And you look at how you manage your own physical and mental well-being on a day-to-day basis, and you just find what works for you. So um, again, as a byproduct of what happened in 2016, you feel like, right, what can I do? How can I help this situation? And I turned to running. It
Yeah.
was like something to channel my energy into, and I'd never used to be a runner. Ran a marathon, raised money for mine, the mental health charity. I'm now a runner. I've run 3 marathons. I enjoy running. My back doesn't enjoy it, but I enjoy running. I've got into cycling, like the whole fitness thing. Again, maybe I would have found that anyway, but or I was a sporty person, but there was no purpose to it. I just feel like that moment has given me so much focus, and then I've achieved so many things since then that I'm proud of that I probably wouldn't have done had that not have happened. So I've tried to like control how I've reacted to it and channel it into good things. Um, Obviously, where we're at now, I would trade all of that to still have my dad here, because that's something that I wasn't able to control, and the outcome was still the outcome. Um, but the person that I am now compared to 2016 is because of that experience. So again, it's like I had a trial run dealing with the trauma of that situation
Yeah,
that I'm now dealing with, but I'm a better, more rounded person now than I was in 2016.
yeah. And for the people listening, um, there might be people have gone through a similar situation, not in terms of what happened, but something which had a negative impact on them. So what kind of strategies did you put in place to help you through that? time, and what's helping you right now?
Um, I think like the first time round, uh, it took longer to talk about it because it's like the initial shock of like what was going on and younger, how you deal with things. Um, but just found that just owning the situation has really helped me. And like people have said that to me more recently that have either contacted me having gone through similar experiences and saying, keep talking, it's such a powerful message, trying to spread awareness, and others that have said, I couldn't do what you've done, more secretive and
Mm,
sort of embarrassed about the situation. And I just don't think that's helpful. You can't control how other people think and deal with situations. But for me, I feel like talking about it, I'm talking about it here
yeah,
with what feels like very little emotion in it now. But there's times where it will just hit me out of nowhere, um, and I know that that comes, and I know how to deal with it. I can talk to Becca, I can talk to you. I've had therapy sessions which were really helpful. I know who I can talk to, and that comes back to knowing who that group of people is. So just talking has really helped me, um, this time round, definitely.
yeah,
I feel like I've not got sucked into I've not signed up for an Ironman or something like just to try and channel. But it really did, again. This trip that I'd spoken about doing for so long, it really confirmed that this was the right thing to do,
yeah,
to change my environment, just get away from London and just focus on enjoying this trip that we've earned, um, because yeah, you only get one shot.
yeah. And I suppose aside from talking, someone that's going through a life-turning moment, is there any other advice that you would give? Because I think talking, it sounds like such an easy thing to do, and believe it or not, it can be such a hard thing to do. Um, Aside from that, is there anything else that you would say has helped you? Maybe something may have helped you to start talking. It could be. Is there anything else in that?
Um, uh, I think you know when you want to talk, and then you know when you don't. Um, but uh, I feel like remaining or trying to remain quite social,
Okay.
and just having some elements of normality. So whether that's going and playing golf and putting yourself in situations where talking becomes quite a natural thing. You go to a one-on-one paid therapy session, like that can feel quite forced for some people. Some people just avoid that because unfortunately there's still a stigma around it, or um, approaching someone to have a conversation. Just if you put
Mm,
yourself in environments where just chat happens, whether that's down the pub with your mates, playing golf, just sitting around with family, having a cup of tea, just it was like removing the barriers to
mm.
have the conversations.
It's like,
Um,
I suppose it's like, yeah, it's like that pressured conversation. It's just be a natural sitting side by side with someone, just general chat, and let it come out. But I suppose if you remove yourself from all social situations, you're preventing yourself from even starting to talk.
yeah, and I've had that on this trip. We were dealing with the loss of my dad for say just over 2 months before we came away, and the conversations that I'd have, with Becca would tend to be at home, like on the sofa or in bed, whereas now we'll go for a hike for 5 hours, and like you're in a different environment and you'll be silent for an hour and then you'll start talking, and it's just putting yourself in different environments for those conversations to actually start.
Yeah.
um, but not everyone has that luxury, so talking's one thing. Like staying active, just I feel like I could have. You chuck everything out the window. Like I don't want to go to the gym anymore. I don't want to eat healthy. You start making those sorts of stupid decisions. You drink too much. Um, but like the maturity in you knows that they're all the things that are actually going to make you feel better.
Yeah.
I carried on working or trying to, because it gave me a separate thing to focus on, so
Mm.
it didn't everything consume me. So they're things that I've done. so far.
And obviously, you've explained a lot about how the initial moment in 2016 shaped what you've done since then. You're now 4 months from losing your dad. How's this now going to shape you? Is it any different to what's happened before? What do you see happening from now on? Like, if and then link that into your career and what you want to do, your purpose. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's partly, you know, what this currently is. You know, working that out, being in a different environment, and proving that you can still run a business from somewhere else. Like we don't know. I could come back from this trip in May and not want to be in London anymore.
mm,
I doubt that, because I really love living in London. But I think this I'm seeing this trip as like the end of a life chapter.
mm,
If I want to be philosophical about it, and we've done the 4 years of building the business, but I'm looking at the next thing is like, okay, what does CAPU next phase look like? Um, but more the next phase of my life of Becca and I got married 18 months ago. It's a private conversation, but are we talking about starting a family? We've been in our flat for 6 years. We're not going to stay in that flat forever. So when's our next house move? Where's that going to be? These are all big decisions um, that would have come up anyway. But I think the experiences of the last 4 months is like, I feel like I need to drive that vehicle again, because not that it's coasting, but life is good again. Uh,
yeah,
Apart from losing my dad, like, life is good. We've built a business. We have the freedom. We can work from anywhere. Okay, so you almost have to make yourself uncomfortable again to
okay,
then take yourself to the next level.
yeah,
So whether that's like personal investments, projects, doing a house move, and going through
let's not talk
something
about
like
that.
that. So like the stress that brings, but that's then what moves you to the next level. I could stay comfortable in that flat forever, but I'm not going to stay there. So there's big big life things that are coming up. Um, and how I will deal with them as a person, I guess, as a future parent. More and more of my friends, yourself included, are starting families now, and I think Becca and I would be great parents. And all of the lessons that I've learned through my own experience, and seeing other people go through it, like, that will be another life-defining moment.
Yeah,
Um, and you then start to think, how would you be as a parent? I think all of the things that I've gone through have made me way more empathetic, um, caring, like, better at communication. So, like, try and nip things in the bud early if I feel like this like something with Becca, or business related, all of these things. It's just, yeah, just trying to deal with it the best way I can.
and what do you think the listeners can learn from your turning point, the things that happened to you? What do you think would be a good learn?
I think that like, life just happens to you. You're gonna eventually lose your parents somehow. Like that the thing that I've gone through is the loss of a parent and the subject of suicide. People will go through all manner of things, and the whole point of us doing this podcast is to delve into that, if people are willing to be vulnerable, and show that you can come out the other side and it have shaped you as a person, and you can still be successful. So I think just controlling how you react is the biggest thing. And
Mm,
this goes back to my parents separating when I was 12. I always think that you could go off the rails at that point and start being a little shit at school or at home, and um, that's a credit to my mum for continuing to raise us as we are, like me and my sisters. That I didn't use it as an excuse at 12 to start that. I didn't use it as an excuse in 2016 to not show up to work, or like just stop giving a shit about things. Actually, it went the other way, and it's
mm,
made me who I am. So it's just controlling the way you react to certain situations and sort of putting yourself first, because at the end of the day, as an adult now, all of those self-sabotage things only are really going to affect you. Like, your friends and your families care, but that care goes to a certain point before actually you've just got to
Yeah.
put yourself first.
Yeah. And what excites you most about your future? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
All the golf courses I'm going to play.
Yeah. Honesty.
um, I just think I look at the two of us, and like from where we were when we first met, and I look at my friendship group and the success that they're having now. I'm proud I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of us as a group, and where we're going. So then it's just exciting to, like, okay, we've come this far. How far can we go?
Yeah.
You see people get to a plateau and get comfortable, but I think we sort of pull each other along to, like, what the next stage is, and people that are going to come into your life and be that next life defining decision or direction. It's just keeping our eyes open for what that next thing is. So there's a level of excitement just to see where it goes, but also knowing that I'm, like, making certain decisions now that are going to impact the next 10 years, 20 years, and that next phase is your family. So I'm just excited for all of it.
Yeah.
I think there's a tinge, and we've spoken about this, about how to deal with it. There's a tinge of sadness in what my dad will miss.
Yeah.
Like, I know so far on this trip, every time I call my mum and my sisters and tell them what we've been up to, show them where they are, like, I know my dad would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many places that we've been where we've gone, like, he would absolutely love it here, or just you're eating something, and just that they become nice memories because you imagine that he would like hearing it. But it's just sad that, like, the success that we've had, and knowing how proud he was of both of us for building what we've built, that he'll miss all of what's coming. But that's then not a reason not to be excited for it.
No. And I think we've spoken about this off camera. All of your friends got to meet your dad at your wedding. Everyone knows who
Yeah.
he is. It's not just, oh, your friend's dad's passed. It's like he's fresh in everyone's mind, isn't he? So
Yeah, and that's a really nice thing to hold on to, that we had our wedding in 2013 and 2013
no.
2023. And yeah, I've got the photos, everyone's got those memories, and, like, he was so proud that day. I know he was. But yeah, again, it's you can, I don't know, it makes you more spiritual, but you it's whatever works. I've seen a few nice sunsets. You would see that first star that goes up, and he's like, in your mind, you're like, okay, yeah, like, that star's him now. So
Yeah.
you hold on to it and think, like, whatever I'm doing, like, he would be proud. Um, so yeah, I'm just excited for the future now.
Yeah. Nice. Well, a big thank you for doing this so soon after your dad. It's not easy to speak about this sort of stuff, and I've definitely seen a shift in you from the Duncan I knew, 12, 13 years ago, to who you are now. Like a big shift, and I think your life's going to become even more meaningful. There's more purpose behind everything you do. You're very thoughtful. You analyze everything. You control everything
Too
as you
much.
yeah. And I think, yeah, this will definitely help you just live a happier life, I'm sure, but not taken away with obviously what's happened. So big thank you for doing it, mate. And hope you're, yeah, this is the closest I've been to someone that's gone through that specific event. And yeah, until you're near it, you don't realize the impact that it has. So
Mm,
big thanks for sort of talking about it all.
thank you.
And for any listeners that perhaps have been thinking about their own, life turning moment, or just something that's happened to you, and you'd like to share your story, we'd love to hear from you. So I think we've got about 11 or 12 people lined up for the first series. all brilliant people across the industry, different roles. Yeah, just great people that I know you're all going to want to listen to. So if you've enjoyed this episode, hit the like. I think you can subscribe. It'll be on YouTube and all the other platforms. And hopefully we've got through our first podcast okay, and you want to come back and listen.
Yeah. If you're watching or listening, you'll be listening to the edited version. So hopefully we've got our head around that part. And it might be recorded by the time you're listening to this, but watch out for episode 2 where I interview you.
Yeah, yeah,
Looking forward to it.
cool. All right. Thanks again, mate,
All right.
and thank you to all the listeners.
Cheers.
Thank you.